Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for yet again another series review. This is straight from Disney Plus. This is coming out very soon. We had an early viewing of the miniseries that is called Tales of the Jedi. I personally had no preconceived notions about it. I hadn't even watched the trailer. I just knew it surrounded certain Jedi stories. But when we go and break this down, I think this is something you don't want to miss. But I'll have our other two co-hosts first lined up. Ant Gold, what's going on, dude?
Oh, I'm great. I just got some good Star Wars. You know how that makes me feel? Oh, that's all right. Look, Sam, thanks for letting me see these things, man. I'm glad I got to see it early. I've been a fan of Tales of the Jedi since it was a comic book back in the '90s, early 2000s, maybe. So to see something like this was good, concise storytelling that just showed like some what Star Wars could be for everybody. Yeah, I'm
Mm,
happy.
tales to come. We're gonna go into it. And last but not least, Ronan Unchained. What's going on, good sir?
Holy censor word. Holy censor word multiple times. Thanks for having me, Sam. And it's good to talk to you. Thank you, Team JVS, for letting me be a part of the experience. And Lucasfilm, I love you so much. Dave Filoni and the team, los quiero un chingo. Um, Damn, this series is so good, and I cannot wait to get my hands on talking about it and trying to tell people to go watch this, to go seek this out when it drops.
So the consensus with everybody is holy fecal matter, what you're saying. Got it. Understood. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go through this. This is a non-spoiler series review. It is a total of 6 episodes, but I had nothing to go off of. I haven't seen Rebels, I haven't seen Clone Wars. These two amazing gentlemen have seen all of it. So I am the noob here.
And
I will
space.
admit it and I will own it. But I have seen all of the Star Wars movies as well as, I read some of the comics and I have some of the collected comics in the past. So this does surround two pivotal Jedi to lore, in Count Dooku, and then the other one is Ahsoka Tano. And so it is very fascinating the route and the trajectory they go through. My question to you guys, because I don't have a point of reference, is most of what they did canon? Is this all fit in line with what you guys have seen, what you guys know? Do you think it is canon? And what is your perspective on canon versus how they did the storytelling? Because I mean, that's one thing. Like everybody that adapts something and makes something of their own, sometimes it's like, you kind of broke code, but then it's like some ways you can do it respectfully. So I'm curious y'all's perspective on that. Ant, you want to go first?
Sure. So Star Wars canon's always, especially now, has been kind of a fluid thing until it shows up on a TV show or a movie. It's not canon. I know Disney even
Mm-hmm.
said like everything was going to be canon when they got away with the expanded universe, and it was like everything's going to be canon now, and that did not last long. So until it shows up in a movie or a television show, until it's on the screen, uh, was it is not canon. So they did do some changes to what we thought we knew from people. There's some characters, some background characters that were big in the EU, or if you read books or comics that you're like, oh, okay, I know how this character story wraps up, or how they meet their goals or whatever. Um, what they did here, and that's something Dave Filoni and whatever team of writers he has with him did great in Clone Wars and in Rebels, is they took things that were like expanded universe kind of canon or comic book canon, and they weaved it into the show to make it their own thing, but still stay true to the essence of those characters, except for Quinlan Voss. Stay true to the essence of those characters um, going forward. They do a good job. A good. Sam is worried about the children, so I'm trying to clean my language. They do a darn good job of doing that. And if you like good Star Wars, none of that. This is for kids. No, just a good story that anybody can enjoy. You have something in this series for you, and they after this, I'm stop. But there's sometimes you can add to a story, especially things that take place in a timeline you already see that kind of take away or beat a dead horse. Every story of this season of show, of this show adds or enhances what we already knew.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to do. You have to love a universe and know the characters to do something right like that, like do so perfect like that.
Yeah, and before we go and move over to Ronan, I mean, again, I don't know a lot of it, but I know that from a storytelling standpoint, they only did 6 episodes, and there was so much character progression, not just character value, but character progression that I could
Yes.
tell. Like I know what I thought I knew about Dooku, but the way that they handled it in this, I'm like, this is fascinating. And then if you use Ahsoka Tano, I don't know that much because I haven't seen Clone Wars, but I'm like, I am very intrigued about, what she's all about. But yeah, Ronan, same question for you.
I'm gonna concur with what Ant said that yeah, there's stuff that people have put their up in arms about. They're like, wait a minute, in the novel, this went down this way, and then in the comics, this went down this way. And I can completely understand why that people feel that way because of the money and time they spent reading those stories
Mm-hmm.
and how what Lucasfilm has done. I think yeah, Ant said it best that I think Filoni and what he says and what he echoed of what Joe Lucas says that the movies and the shows are canon. Everything else just adds to the flavor, even to the point that the original Genndy Tartakovsky was Clone Wars was canon to a point, and then they did the new version of Clone Wars. I'm okay with it without spoiling context of stuff. Something in Ahsoka Tano's novel, a scene is recaptured, and they incorporated to Clone Wars and repurposed it in a better way, in my opinion. And you know what I'm talking about when it comes to a duel with
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka. And same thing they do with this series that I didn't think they would do, and I'm like, wow, that is tapping into that story and repurposing it for this anthology, and yet I'm okay with experiencing both things. The thing they've always said that it's a certain point of views. A story might have gone down a certain way in a book or a comic compared to a movie or a TV show, and I think that as long as it doesn't bring down the character and their journey, I'm content with it. It may hurt a little bit, it might sting a little bit, but if it doesn't damage the reputation or what's the right word? As long as it enhances it, makes it deeper, and makes us care more about these characters, it doesn't hurt nobody. I mean, I told the gentleman backstage that like Dooku, this has been the best stuff of Dooku in my opinion. And I know Clone Wars, I know the movies, Christopher Lee, may he rest in peace. But this stuff just expanded so much in so little. That's the most impressive part.
So
Yeah.
I felt that when you speak of he's already had trouble with how's his name, Samurai Jack guy. When you speak of his Clone Wars
Indy.
and how they were short stories that had so much impact, but they were also a serialized story. Like
Mm-hmm.
and they conveyed so much emotion with so little time, and I think that's something um, we kind of lose in like a lot of people have taken the 3 act story structure as it's the only story structure to have and imported that to television, and then they stretch out episodes, and it seems like a lot of wasted space. There's something to be said for a tight story that's a puzzle piece that adds to more and more and more. Love that old one, especially that those
Mm-hmm.
Mace Windu clips. Yeah, that's hard.
Yes. Oh
Mace
my
Windu
gosh.
had them hands
Yeah.
in that episode.
Yeah.
And even Yoda, like there's so many things you can do, and also with this, taking Dooku and Ahsoka are great characters. Oh yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
was
That's
nice.
poetry right
I'm
there.
gonna have to pop those in and watch them this weekend.
Hell yeah.
Um, but taking Ahsoka and Dooku because their lifespans span such pivotal times in the Star Wars history and the length of the Jedi that it makes sense to use them as point of view characters because they touch on so many other characters' lives, and they bring a character back. I'm not going to spoil. They bring a character back that there has been conflicting stories about where they ended up, um, And because for what they show on the visual, on the TV and movies, the character just kind of disappears, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but the novels and comics, and I think even a story it tells in the Jedi deal with the character too from the comic series. Um, and I think that for the most part, they do their version of this story in a beautiful way. And a lot of times, I think of the other stuff as almost legends people tell 1,000 years after the real events happen. So
Yeah.
it's good. It's good to see this. And some of them were just beautiful. Some of them were just beautifully. This is writing. Like this is writing. How can you compare some of the other stuff that how and again, this is people who the force feels mystical in this. It feels like something you guys study. You get the skill that it takes people to learn to do things in this universe, so it has more weight and more feel. You put Ahsoka next to Rey, there's no comparison. There's no comparison on how on characters. I know y'all don't want to talk about it. Disney, you know the truth. Don't come after me.
All I'll say is Daisy Ridley, I love you.
Nothing about Daisy Ridley. It's nothing about Daisy
yeah,
Ridley
exactly.
because she did a good job what she was working with, and she had the one of the no, I would say the best character intro of all of Star Wars, in my opinion.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
But they didn't give her time to just grow as a character and make us fall in love with their struggles and overcoming challenges, right? And that's why we love our heroes. We don't love our heroes because they're perfect. We love our heroes because they overcome. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And in this short story format, um, they gave that to all of our characters. All of our characters had something they were conflicted with, overcome, showing short stories. And even though you knew how some of these things were going to end, you were still rooting for them, weren't you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There was
Sam.
that's a
Oh, it's Sam. All I'll say is this because you haven't seen Clone Wars yet. That it's scary, and you tell me if I'm wrong. It's scary how parallel the journeys are for Dooku and Ahsoka, and how wise and perfect it was to put these 6 episodes about them and see people let them experience it. It's scary how parallel and
yeah,
similar their journeys are.
Did we
that
see the
was
whole season? Is this the whole season?
I
yeah,
believe so.
yeah, that's it.
The biggest problem this season has is if they do a season two, it has to live up to it. That's one of the good problems to have.
Yeah,
That's one of the good problems to have.
that was gonna be the segue I was gonna get into, but you guys already touched on it. Was them picking these two specific characters? They could have picked other characters. They could have picked, somebody like Mace Windu, but they
Yoda.
picked characters that are very pivotal, like you already said, and to the history of Star Wars. Even somebody like me that hadn't seen any of the anime and stuff, I see how important this is. I'll use
Exactly.
Ahsoka as an example. I just took the one episode, the first episode with Ahsoka, when you see her. If I knew nothing about Star Wars ever, and I just looked at her episode, I'd be like, what is a Jedi? Like, what is this? Where is this going? Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. Like, how is this happening? And I think that any storytelling that can do that off of one episode is doing right. And so I think, like you guys said, and you already alluded to it, it's so many other characters that we want to talk to you guys about who. But there's going to be a lot of subtle surprises and things that these other characters, their motivations, the conversations, even like some of the influences that are going on the back end, it is so rich. I know how rich it is, and I haven't even seen everything. So I think that that's very interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you guys this. At this point, it seems like you guys are sold. But say they do a second season, and instead of picking these same characters, they pick two more. Would you guys be upset about it? Or if the same writers that developed these and took time and precious weight to these, they handle two other characters the same exact way, how would you guys feel about that?
I think I agree with that notion, that fact that, like, you know what, Ahsoka's already getting her own show, and that's good. That's, for me, that's good enough. I will not take turn down more of her content or more of her stories, more of her journey. But she's getting her own show now, and Dooku, there's Clone Wars that also taps into that, but this was a unique thing. To me, what I would say is just do something with a bounty hunter. I mean, my choice right now would be Cad Bane. Do something with Cad Bane for 3 episodes, for 15 minutes each, and I don't know, somebody else, maybe an EU character that they want to introduce, you could do it with this. And I agree with that. It'll be now a hurdle. Be like, yo, this season one kicked, I can't swear, but kicked butt all the way. And now it's like you're gonna have to, if you dare do another season, it's gonna have to meet the same level and um, see how much you could grab people with either characters that are already well known or new characters to see how tempted they are to go about that route. So I wouldn't be opposed to season two with new characters. And I feel that you could try this. This is something unique. That's not 12 episodes. That's not a full length TV show season. It's an anthology series that you just tap into. And I mean, this is weird to say, but I feel like the first episode of Mandalorian could have easily been one of the episodes of Tales of the Galaxy, and it would have been a perfect solo story. Just that first episode, and would have made you linger on, like, what is that character? What's there more to do with it? And that's the beauty of what this anthology did, where it's like it's endless possibilities, with just a small period of time to hook people in. Like you said, you haven't seen a lot of the anime shows, and yet you got hooked with Ahsoka. That's what's unique about her characters. That you drop her. If any fan who's not familiar with it, jump on Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, this series, you can experience a character and you'll be hooked and you'll root for her instantly. So I put it to Lucasfilm to see how they're doing. I don't want them to start stacking things up and hurting what's already being built upon.
Yeah. Yeah. Only reason why I bring that up, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, they could do this with somebody like Mace, or take like Mace and Darth Maul for some reason. I don't know. And if the writers handle it with the amount of care they did with this, they could still expand, because the whole point is the Tales of the Jedi, right? So it's kind of like it would be very interesting to see their approach to that. But for what they gave me with this, I'm all the way sold by it. But your perspective, and then to add on how you really feel about this as a whole, because you're hard to please when it comes to Star Wars. So I wanted you here. I wanted you absolutely here, because I was like, if Ant Gold gives it a pass or a green light, it must be great. Because
I ain't gonna lie. The beginning of this, people, I was kind of bitter. I was like, look at that plot armor. Look at this, blah blah blah. Blah, blah, blah. It's good. It's good. Blah blah. Look, I'm broken hearted. They put a lightsaber right through my heart, and I'm protecting myself. But I was like, Ahsoka Tano again. I can't wait for the die.
he did. He said,
Yeah, I cannot believe you said that.
Like, F these kids.
So for me, I'm with you. I would love to see them expand on, because the Tale of Jedi, I would like them to do how Mace Windu went through the Clone Wars, maybe even how the Jedi were when he was a trainee, so we can see a different age of the Jedi, versus when he's a Padawan, when there was no galactic war going on. Or maybe even Maul, how he got turned into. I know that's not really the Jedi, but and then I would like them to go forward. I don't want any tie-ins to the sequels. No tie-in to sequels, but I would love to see Luke Skywalker, but I don't want him to be the point of view character. I would love it to either be a Padawan when he starts making his school, the way he did the EU, or maybe just how like Leia. Maybe the point of view character is Leia, and you're seeing what Luke did for the galaxy from Leia or Hans or the droid's perspective. Oh, maybe R2D2. I would love it to follow R2D2 through different eras and see the things he's seen that we haven't seen before, or something like that. And then it gets to Luke and what Luke actually means to the Star Wars story. You know, and maybe something that shows that point of view thoughts. I don't know. I think there's so many things you can do with this, and since you can not play with time, but move back and forth through time. And people, when I say they enhanced scenes, they made scenes better and be like, of course that person was there, or yeah, that makes sense to the thing they had in there. Just this scene together, seeing Dooku and Mace work together in a way, and how the people they are facing off to were screwed. Like there's almost save it unless it was Palpatine and Yoda team up together. Could you be less screwed than these two people staring at you like this? So am I wrong? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Like you just already man, you done. You done. So I would love to see that, but I would love Luke to get some love. And I think that Mandalorian, if anything, the fan base still loves them some Luke. And so to see Luke actually, because we've never really seen Luke outside of Mandalorian be a Jedi Master. You know what I mean? We haven't really seen him elevated, but him going around finding relics or something like that, and tying into like the hope that all the other Jedi had were pretty much fulfilled with Luke Skywalker. And I think that would be if they could tie that in some way to that would be cool to me.
And you know what's weird is that there's a sequence. I won't spoil it deeply, but there's a sequence in Battlefront 2 in the story campaign that involves
Yes.
Luke.
Yeah.
And that sequence with who I'm talking about,
Yes.
Del Mico, that would have been a perfect episode of Tales of the Jedi. And you'd be like, you want to know why people love Luke Skywalker? You want to know why he's the Jedi in that time? Boom, that sequence would have that sequence. Oh,
yeah. And this is another thing that Dave Filoni's really well in putting in. He didn't forget that the Jedi are just swinging lightsabers and force pushes. There's a philosophy behind how you access the force. There's a different philosophy versus a Jedi, say a Sith or a Night Sister. And I think that's something that the movies kind of threw away with, and they thought it was just about like having a mutant power type of thing. And so to see the philosophy, there's a thing in Return of the Jedi where Luke throws away his lightsaber, and you're like, what the heck are you doing? No other movie would have done that. No other movie would have did it where the character throws away his lightsaber and like, no, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. And he won in that moment. You understand what I'm saying? He won in that moment. There's a point in this series where a character still offers redemption to another character.
Right.
Where almost no other story I can think of, no other franchise I can think of would do that. And
yeah.
And that was Star Wars to me. Am I making it clear? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
No, it does.
Beautiful, dude. It's poetry right there.
Without spoiling it. And when you guys see it, you guys will understand. I think you guys are going to be blown away by it. I think that I'll say this. The first episode may throw you off a little bit because it's not a slow start, but it's kind of like, wait, where are we going? What's the trajectory of this? But by the time you get to episode 2 and 3, you're along for the ride and you're just holding on. Even though you know where some of the characters go, it's the way that they handle the storytelling. Small, simple, compact, but very important and vital to the legacy of these characters. So just to close this out, final thoughts. What are your final thoughts and what do you rate this episode or this series?
And you can go ahead. I'll finish last.
So my final thoughts are, I think this was great. I'm glad that I got to watch this all at once. That's my only concern is if you had to watch this week to week, because I doubt they're gonna like drop all 6 at the same time. I don't know if it'll hit as hard or it'll come together as quickly as if you could just go through this story and the timeline that it goes to. But overall, am I using what am I using? 1 to 10, 1 to 5, F to A? What am I doing?
Oh, you can do. We can make it easy. A to F.
A plus. A plus. I think there's you'd have to anything that you have a problem with would probably be a nitpick. And there's going to be people right there. If you don't like this, then all the people that say you just want to hate on Star Wars, you hate anything that's new, you give them credibility. like if you just love good storytelling, animation, and choreographed fight scenes, you'll like this. So, but if you love Star Wars, I don't see there's any problem. There's nothing wrong with this. And they get rid of them sequel trilogy helmets from the opening.
So I will give you this, and one good news that you're going to be appreciative of is that just like Star Wars Visions, they are releasing all 6 episodes on the 26th of October. So all of us can be released
Oh,
at once.
oh my gosh. Yes. You guys are gonna love this. That's all I gotta say. A plus.
Mhm.
Just sit down, bring your kids, let them know about
No, kids, some of y'all kids don't need to watch
You
this.
better bring your kids.
Some of your kids don't need to. This ain't for the kids.
Um,
But yeah, go ahead, Ronan.
I agree with Ant. This is an A plus. This shot its way up as one of my favorite, stories, shows, movies of Star Wars. That's how good, precise the timing was with each of these episodes. The framing, and also I just want to give a round of applause to Kevin Kiner who did the music, the animation team.
Yes.
This animation kicked culo. It was so damn good. They don't get that much appreciation, so I would highly recommend the show. This knocked out the ballpark and honor these both characters. And I want to give you a little trivia that it's mind bending when I heard this. So Dave Filoni said that he came up with this idea while they were shooting The Mandalorian season 1 or 2, and he saw that the Bad Batch was going forth and was impressed with the animation they were using. Like, that animation is top tier. That he hoped that he could use during the Clone Wars when it started, and he was jealous of it. And what he would do is when he would be traveling on during flights in little napkins, he would write these stories. He got trapped with Dooku and Ahsoka, and telling these tome poem stories that George would teach him. And he came up with these stories on plane fights, boys. Came up with these stories on plane fights, and probably more during the office hours. And when there was an opening, because he said, I love animation. I don't want to just go to live action and forget animation. So he said, I want to go back to animation and use what Bad Batch did and enhance that. And to think all this came to fruition because of wanted to use animation as a medium that isn't just for kids; it's for everybody to join. It's another medium of art of storytelling, and the fact that he came up with these stories, it's just mind-bending to me. If anyone can go see the panel of Tales of the Jedi at Star Wars Celebration this past year, go seek it out, because he just dives deep on how all this came to fruition, and the people and the actors that he brought to bring these characters to life. So yeah, I cannot wait to rewatch this. I want to get my hands on that poster, and yeah, I do hope people don't leave this series to float in the wind because of the animation or because they're just shorts. There is volume in these episodes and what the animation medium can do, and I hope people see that through it, because it's gonna be big. It's gonna be really big.
When this comes out, this is the best written thing on television to date. It maybe House of the Dragon fits it, but nothing else. Nothing else in my opinion. And that's
Oh,
what?
Wait,
What beats
we're
it?
not gonna go there.
She-Hulk?
We're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there.
Power to Women Power?
We're gonna leave it
What
alone.
beats it? What beats it? What beats it on television right
My
now?
final thoughts
I will.
on this is I rated it at an A plus plus because again I'm sold off the fact that I haven't seen all this. Like the only Clone Wars that I remember seeing was the 2003 animated one, and I thought that was masterful. I still own those. I still own Volume 1 and Volume 2. And the honest truth is, when I watched that and I saw this CGI version, I was like, ain't no way it can top this. So I just never gave Clone Wars a chance because of that. But over the years, everybody's been telling me, like, man, you got to go and do it. So watching this and seeing what they've done, I mean, whether it's the angles and the shots, whether it's the character progression, whether it's like you can feel like real rich emotions going through certain characters, like things that they're trying to capture on live action, they've never been able to really do. This series alone was able to do in 6 episodes, which is insane to me. And I mean, to be truthful, like we talked about it while we were watching, if I think about this Star Wars Visions, I mean, like it's some of the best Star Wars has ever done. And I think that's an interesting testament. And I haven't even seen all of the animated stuff. So again, I give them all the credit for this. I thought the score was masterful at times. Episode 4 and 5, the usage of score and tone. There's one episode, I think it's episode 5, in the build-up for that. Yeah, it's amazing. So you guys are in for a huge treat. I thank you guys for being a part of this. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Ronan,
Thanks
where
for
can
inviting us.
everybody? Yeah, no, of course, and we'll be back with more for sure. But Ronan, where can everybody find you, man?
My friend, I thank you for. That's a
You
very
got a name, Sam?
That's a
He's
Ronan
all
there.
big
He
league.
used
Can't
the
remember a little
force.
guy's name.
He moved
His
my
name is
finger
on
the
the
wrong way.
screen. See how Sam treats his people? See how Sam, as soon as it's over, he puts us back in the basement. We don't come back to another review. We have to be different locations, but we're not. Conspiracy.
No, see,
Conspiracy.
no. Ant is really he's not telling you the truth for you guys. He's actually been doing Star Trek and Star Wars reviews in the back cut. It's all been on him. So no, that's not true. Go ahead, Rhoda.
But yeah, Sam, thanks for inviting me to be part of this experience. I truly wanted to see this as soon as possible, so badly. And thankfully they had subtitles as well. And but yeah, people could find me at Ronan Unchained on Twitter, on YouTube. I will have reactions for this series. I will do a review, and who knows, maybe I might do a spoiler review and have you guys on if we can make that work. And in terms of Star Wars and just shows and movies to come, there's a lot of stuff in the works. There's a lot of iron in the fire concerning my channel. So yeah.
Yeah, and me and this guy, we are trying to bring other people in on it, but we're doing the Last of Us podcast. And
Bottles and bricks, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to miss some of those conversations that we're having with that. I mean, Ant Gold, you're welcome to it. Speaking of Ant Gold, where can everybody talk to you at? We know where we can find you, but where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Trump Geek. You can find on YouTube. And it's coming soon. There will be an Ant Gold Twitter coming to you, and we shall post that so you can talk to me, tell me how wrong you are to go against my opinion. And barring that, you can find me in Sam's basement, hook up to my IV, playing Pepsi Survive until it's time for him to give me out of my cage.
I don't have anything to say. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. We got a lot of content coming and a lot of coverage coming as well. They're just released the Titans season 4 trailer. We're going to be putting out Titans interviews up very soon, as well as the Winchesters, as well as some other things that I can't talk about yet. And Wednesday. That's all I can say for right now. Y'all stay tuned for that. I'm going to keep spoiling it, though. Peace.
The Winchesters are back? Oh, my gosh.
No.
Falling
off the top